7, public hearing. There is none this evening. Number 8, general business. 8A, public hearing on the proposed budget and proposed property tax levy for taxes payable year 2013. Public comment will be heard in the final levy, and budget will be discussed. Consideration of adopting resolution 2012-046 approving a final property tax levy for the city of Rushford collectible in 2013. The original proposed levy of $762,000 resulted in a tax rate of 83.36. The Budget Committee has subsequently recommended amending the proposed levy to be $740,000, same as the past 2 years, resulting in a tax rate of 80.95. In consideration of this resolution, information will be provided regarding the budget and taxes proposed for collection to pay for the cost of city-provided services in 2013. This levy resolution may be adopted at this meeting, but no later than December 17th. Staff will provide additional information and reports. See attached information. Mr. Sarvey.
The proposed final budget went through the subcommittee process with staff and 2 council members. Mayor set a goal of trying to obtain a 0% increase on the 2013 budget. We were able to accomplish that, and there's still a few outlying issues with respect to cost of living increase for employees, if any, as we're still in the process of negotiating with the unions. I don't know, unless the subcommittee members have anything that they'd like to add about the process that we went through, the line items that we discussed and how we ended up at 0%. But if you take a look at the all cities tax levy rate sheet, it shows where we stack up with the other communities in the county. Normally cities try to set a goal of having that flat, if possible, slightly declining tax rate. And by holding this, I believe you had 1% increase in 2011, 0 in 2012, and this proposed 0 in 2013 gets you, just below the 81% tax rate, which is slightly ahead of Peterson and quite a bit behind Chatfield and other communities.
That tax rate is, how is that applied to the assessed valuation?
Yeah, your actual tax sheet that you got,
Your proposed one.
you would take that 80.95 times your taxable market value, and that would be your city taxes.
That would be your city tax rate.
The thing you got in the mail,
Yep.
that applied 83.36. That was the original one. That applied that.
So most people should see a reduction in their from what they had on their proposed from the county to what the actual number would be if you adopt this budget. We're required to take input from the public if there is any. You can adopt the levy as we presented at a preliminary level. You can't raise the levy by what we had at the preliminary unless there's some sort of special consideration, of which I can't think that there's any. If there was a disaster or something, you go back to the state and replace more money than what you had originally allocated. You can be reduced, so you can be at that number, you can be at the number that we're proposing, you can be less, or you can be somewhere in between. But this is the effort of the subcommittee too, and this is what the proposal is to the council.
On the blue sheet where it shows the city's history, that 2012 rate jumped, but that wasn't due to increasing the levy, it was due to the state of Minnesota.
Right, the market value credit change? I should have pointed that out. Otherwise, you would have seen that to be, to be really close to that 73.51. And then this number that we're at right now would be even less than that,
Because of the homestead.
market value. That's what, when they shifted the tax burden onto,
Right. They took away the homestead and raised the valuation.
mostly on businesses, commercial properties, but also on some homes. I think the value of my house went up $5,000 on the proposed levy. My taxes went up, I think, $8 for the city. So I would expect them to be somewhere around like a $2 increase now, if you adopt the 0%.
During a meeting last week with the subcommittee, Robert and I were here with staff, and it wasn't a goal to get to $740,000 so much as we're not walking out of here without it being $740,000. How are we gonna get there? So, staff made recommendations and we went along with them. I consider it pretty lean. And it's about as good as we're gonna get. Council wants it 0%, mission accomplished. And I say we pass it.
Do you know what Winona County came in at? 3 to 4%. Mine is 3 to 4%.
What were the specific shifts that were made?
The main one was the community center fund.
I see that.
Yeah, and the reason for that was because being unsure what the final disposition, the 20,000 that we had projected in there in the preliminary budget was just to start to address that issue. It really wasn't going to accomplish a whole lot. It's sort of like putting a little bit towards the liquor store or whatever. We feel that with, depending on how the negotiations turn out up at the Henley Park, it's a bit too unsure. And that was one that seemed to be fairly easy. And then the library was pulled back as well.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the community center goes, I thought, Vern, if we gotta stick that $20,000, we'll take it from the EDAs. Responsible for that.
Yeah.
So, that's just the way I thought. That's just the way I saw it. If we need to do that, we can take it from the EDA funds.
So that makes up the 22. Was there anything else that was looked at?
We looked line by line.
We went through all of this.
We
were here for 3 hours.
The concern was the effect on operations. We looked at the library, for instance. They had held flat as far as their increases on most of their operations, with the exception of setting money aside for operating this entire building. That we questioned whether the transition wouldn't happen even in January, so could we have slid that back even further? I think they were a little conservative on what their estimates are to fully run this building. So again, the subcommittee didn't feel it was prudent to draw that back any further. We also kept in place some salary increases for part-timers, which hadn't been adjusted since prior to the flood. And I think the subcommittee felt strongly that should remain in there and make sure that survived any of the cuts. We had already taken a pretty strong swipe at Public Works Capital Project Fund, well, in the city's Capital Project Fund. We looked at some of our other costs, City Hall and others. Fuel costs, now fuel is coming back down again.